What's up, YouTube? I just thought I want to show y'all my find of the day. You'll like this, or I certainly did. Check this out. It's two um, turquoise. Check them out. Aren't they cute? Uh, God, I'm horrible. Um, anyway, I love skulls, and I just thought these were outstanding, and I got them at a Plato's Closet, a used clothing store here for $6, and they're turquoise set in gold, and I think this is probably looks like a copper chain. So anyway, I thought I'd have a story time tonight. So I thought I'd tell you about my daddy wrestling a black bear. You'll like this story. It's a really good story. Now my father was his name was Charlie, and he was an alcoholic. Now my daddy, he loved his moonshine. Yes, he did. But he also loved his little pints of Smirnoff vodka. And back in the 60s now, we would have been driving, oh, I'd probably say I believe it was about a 1955 Ford Galaxy 500. I remember it was blue, and it seemed to me like as big as half the side of our house. It was huge. And my father, amongst all the other things he did in the mountains, was raise and breed hound dogs, coon dogs, most specifically. We always had in the trunk of the car, and sometimes in the back seat with all the children, in the Galaxy, you know, three on the tree with the big old huge steering wheel, would be black and tans, blue ticks, red bones, plots, you name it, pups. Well, usually if it was, shall we say, women dogs, female dogs, we just called them, you know, bitches. To be bred with one of my father's dogs, then we would have it in the trunk. And we would we my father had a sister who lived in Andrews, North Carolina. So we always drove on this highway, and along the way we would be delivering puppies, and my father would be stopping along to catch up news with all the shall we say, relatives of and friends of family that we knew all along the way. I mean, you know, never knew with my father. He might be buying ginseng. He might be looking at land to buy. You just never knew. But there was one place for sure over close to Copper Hill, Tennessee, or maybe it was Murphy, North Carolina. I'm pretty sure that's pretty close to where it was. There was a huge cage, and it had a black bear, and you could stop and wrestle a bear, a black bear. Now this thing was old. It had no claws. It had no teeth. It was fat. I don't remember the people who owned it, but I remember that my father always wanted to stop and wrestle the bear. Apparently he couldn't hurt you, and in the end you'd just wind up, he'd sit on you. But anyway, it was a big thing to stop and wrestle the bear. And you could buy a bottle of Coca-Cola for this bear. And then when you bought the bottle of Coca-Cola, the man would open up the cage, and you could get in there with the bear. And there was, I remember, hay and bales of hay all over the place. And my father would jump in, and the bear would, you know, wrap around him, and they would wrestle. And my father would already, well, my mother would be driving because my father would be looped up in the wind from the nips of the moonshine. So anyway, on this particular that wonderful little spring day, you know, here we are, and we've already been in that car, a night. We stopped along the way, got out of the old massive canvas tent that fit right in the trunk of that thing. Those old Ford Galaxies, my God, does anybody remember? They had like a back seat in them that was like solid blue vinyl, and it was like big as a sofa. Man, it was big as a huge Chesterfield there, and we used to put 6, 8 kids back there, and there was still plenty of room. The floorboard, and then there was behind the window there, and a huge trunk that just seemed to have everything. So anyway, here we are, and we get out this canvas tent, and we spend the night, and then we're rolling into North Carolina, and here we stop to wrestle the bear. Well, unbeknownst to my mother, my father, he pulls out a bottle of moonshine, and he pours out most of the Coca-Cola, and he dumps in the moonshine in the Coca-Cola bottle, and he gives it to the bear. And the bear immediately, I remember, would lay on his back, hold the bottle like a baby bottle with all 4 feet, even though it was a huge, massive bear. I guess he weighed 400 or 500 pounds. And he would drink the Coca-Cola, and that's what he did. And when he drank that Coca-Cola with that moonshine in it, boy, he got up and he had some fire in his eyes. And he looks at my daddy and he grunts, and my daddy grins at all us. And then the next thing I know, the bear jumped on top of my daddy. And my daddy was he was about 5'10", and he was squat and broad-shouldered and big brawny arms from working, and he was just like strong, and that bear just jumped right over him and knocked him right over in that hay. And my father was trying to wrestle the bear, and the bear was so mad because that Coca-Cola had fire in it. And I mean, Daddy started hollering at the man, "Let me out of here, this bear's crazy." And the bear was just beating my father. Oh, I mean, he was chasing my father around and around. And my father, I've never seen my father run from anything, but let me tell y'all, boys and girls, he was running from that bear, and it was loud, and it was just everybody was cheering the bear, not my father. Everybody that was standing around, I guess, there was 15 or so people, besides us kids and my mother. They all knew my dad had done something to that bear and probably giving moonshine, and that was it. And that man told my dad, he said, "Don't you ever stop here, Mr. Charlie White, and get that bear drunk again." It was hysterical, and my mother was so angry and so upset. But I want you to know it was such a funny story, and I hope I shared it well. You know, it's a rainy night here in Athens, and we had thunder and lightning. But you know, we didn't get any damaging winds so far. There's been no tornadoes here. I don't know. I haven't heard any local damage reports here at all, but I have seen some of the videos already from Louisiana in particular. I saw the one, I believe it was on Eric M's channel. Please look it up. It's very frightening to see that tornado blowing those cars and all that in the parking lot. Please, I pray for those people, and I hope that everyone is safe tonight. God bless you all, and y'all take care out there. And hey, you know, best thing about it all growing up as I did, man, I was white trash a long time before it was popular on the Comedy Channel, because that was my maiden name, White. Can you imagine? What a trip my life has been. God bless y'all.